This is the G Podcast with your host, Tommy B.
News team, assemble!
It's time for the Week in News with Syracuse Mike.
And this may make you a bit uneasy. The IRS is reportedly preparing to give someone working with Elon Musk's Department of Government Efficiency, also known as DOGE, access to personal taxpayer data. Both the Washington Post and New York Times reported this Monday, saying the IRS received a request for access to a classified system that contains sensitive personal financial records. That request was under review. If it happens, DOGE officials will have broad access to taxpayer systems, including tax returns. It's important to note that the IRS uses some computer systems that are very old. Part of the mission of the DOGE team is to modernize and scrutinize systems across departments. Rihanna's partner, A$AP Rocky, got some good news Tuesday.
We, the jury, the above entitled action, find the defendant, Raheem Mayers, not guilty.
As you just heard, the jury found A$AP Rocky, real name Raheem Mayers, not guilty on 2 felony counts of assault with a semi-automatic firearm. The Grammy-winning recording artist thanked the jury for saving his life.
We want to thank God first. You got to thank God first, you know what I'm saying? And I really want to thank the jury for making the right decision.
U.S. Postmaster General Louis DeJoy is resigning. DeJoy, who was appointed Postmaster General during President Trump's first term, has taken much of the heat over issues with the Postal Service. It's unclear exactly when DeJoy plans to step down from the position he has held since 2020. One of his biggest critics concerning on-time mail delivery has been Georgia U.S. Senator Jon Ossoff.
Everyone in my state is losing. The amount of distress this is causing my constituents is massive.
Ossoff at a hearing with DeJoy last year. In November, DeJoy warned that the post office must continue to cut costs to avoid a government bailout, or we will see, quote, the end of this great organization as we know it. The Postal Service has lost more than $100 billion since 2007. The war between Russia and Ukraine is now also a war between President Trump and Ukrainian President Zelensky. It started Tuesday when President Trump accused Ukraine of starting the war. That's not true. And it grew into a bigger issue the next day when Zelensky, while saying he respected Mr. Trump, also said that the U.S. president lives in a disinformation space by echoing Russian propaganda. That was followed by Trump accusing Zelensky of being a dictator who has refused to hold elections in his war-torn country. Plus, there was this dig.
Think of it, a modestly successful comedian. President Zelensky talked the United States of America into spending $350 billion to go into a war that basically couldn't be won, that never had to start and never would have started if I was president, not even a chance, and it didn't start for 4 years.
Some U.S. senators have publicly disagreed with labeling Zelensky a dictator. The U.S. has spent more than $100 billion in aid for Ukraine's war effort. A federal judge in New York said Friday that he would not immediately dismiss Mayor Eric Adams' corruption case. Adams' trial will now be delayed indefinitely. The Trump Justice Department asked for charges against him to be dismissed. Judge Dale Ho said he would appoint an outside lawyer to present arguments against the federal prosecutor's decision to dismiss the case. This is all in order to help the judge make his decision. Adams was charged last September with taking bribes and campaign donations from Turkish nationals. He is seeking re-election amid calls for his resignation.
Hey, what's up, y'all? Welcome to episode 257 of This is the G Podcast. And you know, we haven't been starting the show with news, but with so much news, you know, when they call it a fire hose of news, they mean it. I mean, there's so much we have to go through and edit. But again, big thanks to Syracuse Mike, man. And just a couple of things we didn't even get to as we tape. A judge has blocked the executive orders ending federal support for DEI programs that Trump laid out. And also, as we tape, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, who's a black man, Charles Q. Brown, was fired last night, and along, I think, with the female. She's out as well in the military. So welcome to America, y'all. Episode 257. This is the G Podcast. What's up, y'all? Yes. We're going to talk about it, though. You know, we're going to talk about it. It's your weekly recap, news, politics, pop culture, that piping hot tea. Tanya B is out this week, but we got somebody else from Boston in the building. So we got a Beantown rep coming
Yes, sir.
in.
Yes, sir.
So Tanya B is out. And got to give it up for Tanya B. She is being honored this week by the city of Atlanta for her years in the music business. Y'all give it up for Tanya B, man. How can you be 15, 18 years old and be in the business 30 years? How can you? How'd she do that? You know, I'm your host, Tommy B, and I'm a proud Grady baby. I'm that proud Grady. Have y'all seen the Spike Lee commercial that's airing? There's a new Grady Spike Lee commercial where I didn't realize, I forgot that Spike Lee was a Grady baby, but he is running. And if you're in the Atlanta area, man, there's a Grady commercial that basically, you know, Spike's doing it, and he's, you know, I'm proud to be a Grady baby. So I am too, Spike. Yeah. This week, man, you know, we're going to talk about Black history. Our guest, I'll introduce him formally in just a minute. Tanya B's out, so I've got the tea, and we'll go a little bit more and get some thoughts on A$AP Rocky. Plus, I've got a guest coming in. We're going to talk a little bit about the NBA and what's happening with the ratings, and we got to talk about it. We got to bring that up. And just a reminder to y'all, we're on Spotify. You can follow us if you have Spotify. Follow the podcast at This Is the G Podcast. The G Podcast. Also, you can take polls. You can comment. If you have not followed, I know some of you follow us. We're just spread out right now, but make sure you follow us on Spotify right now. Okay. By the country commentators in the building. Bob, what's up, man?
Hey, not much, my brother. Just taking it one day at a time. Trying to survive.
Yeah,
trying to survive this madness.
Good, man. It's good to see you. Good to see you. Talib Shabazz is in the building. What's up, Talib?
What's happening? What's happening? How y'all doing? Good to be back.
Yes, man. Yes. And real quick before we move to our guest, I got to shout out Harold Michael Harvey. He shot me a note last night, and I'll acknowledge him at the end of the show. But shout out to Harold Michael Harvey, who contributes, and he's on the show often. So let's go ahead and get to our guest, man. Anthony R. Stewart Jr. He's an attorney, Beantown born, came over to Atlanta. Now, Milton High School, you know, I saw the Milton, and I kind of got triggered, Anthony, because there's a Milton in Fulton County that I couldn't stand back in the day. But
I'm back up in Boston. Yeah, Milton in Boston. Yeah.
So good to know, because I was about to go in on you. But he's the author of By the Hand or By the Pen, an anthology of Black American radical abolition, resistance, and revolution from the years 1526 to 1865. Emancipation Proclamation, right?
Right.
Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And Anthony, man, you know, first of all, man, thank you for coming on. He reached out to me just on Instagram, said, hey, man, can I come on the show? I saw a couple of clips where he had participated. I said, yeah, man. You know, we need some fresh blood. He's a millennial, am I correct?
Yeah, I guess so. I guess I would classify as a millennial, yeah. And I appreciate you for having me on, man. I appreciate you.
Oh, man. Appreciate you taking the, taking us up and coming on, man. First of all, tell people about the book, man. Let them know what's up with the book.
Okay, so By the Hand or By the Pen, an anthology of Black American radical abolition, resistance, and revolution. The book basically chronicles 1526 through 1865 and the different ways in which Black people were radical and, you know, trying to secure their freedom, secure our self-determination, and just build our communities up in this country. And I started in 1526 because a lot of people, they don't know that before the British were here in 1619, you know, Georgia, South Carolina, Florida were all colonies of the Spanish who were here since the 1400s, 1500s, you know, indigenous populations, a lot of different things. So I talk about everything from, you know, the Stono rebellions all the way up until, you know, us getting our intellectual property and things of that nature. And so, you know, it covers a wide range of history.
So it's, you know, when I'd like to know, man, when it comes down to making a choice on writing a book, what made you go in this direction?
Well, so I'm a lawyer by trade. Went to law school here at Thurgood Marshall School of Law, and I've always been into critical race theory. When I was at Morehouse in undergrad, I always, you know, integrated critical race theory in some capacity in my studies. And so for me, I knew that history was always in you know, education, lecturing, that was always something that I wanted to implement into my career. And so that, I guess that's kind of where the passion started. And two writers who come to mind, Michelle Alexander, The New Jim Crow. I don't know if you're familiar with that book.
I've seen it, yeah.
Yeah, and then also Isabel Wilkerson, The Warmth of Other Suns. Those were two writers who really influenced me. Michelle Alexander's an attorney as well. And then Isabel Wilkerson is a sociologist, but they influenced me to, you know, kind of implement critical race theory and history into, you know, what I do. And so that's kind of how I got into it.
Now, you started writing this book around what time? When did you start writing it?
I'd say I started writing it about around 2018 is when I think my research really took off. My dissertation in law school was looking at the similarities of slave patrols and modern day policing, and the similarities of how their shared origins, how they came to be in this country. And so that's kind of where it spawned from. And from that, I saw ways in which we resisted, ways in which we fought against that, different things of that nature. And that kind of spawned my interest in it.
So when you hear a lot of what's going on right now, because one of the reasons I said, hey, man, come on, is to protect history. And you know, we need to do a better job of protecting our history, you know, when a lot of folks are out there trying to erase it or whitewash it. When you hear what's going on in the country right now, as someone who's written this type of book, your age, now, you know, you're in a different generation. How do you feel?
I feel like the preservation of history and telling our story is more important than ever. You know what I mean? I think along with these conversations about DEI and, you know, rolling back civil rights legislation, I think you don't really understand the brevity of that unless you study history. You don't know what it's like for 70 years of civil rights history to be, you know, wiped out in a matter of a few days if you're not studying what was going on and what we were doing back then. And so I think more than ever is the time for us to kind of find community with each other and kind of make sure that we're educating ourselves on what we were, you know, what we endured and what we're up for in the coming months and in the coming years under this presidency, and what we have to look forward to. But I think we have a lot of people we can look back on and see what they did and how we can better implement that today. You know what I mean?
Do you think there's enough engagement and seriousness about it? I mean, let's look at it from your generation first. And you shook your head. So go
No,
ahead.
not at all. Not at all. I don't think there's enough seriousness about it. And I think, again, that goes back to people's lack of knowledge and knowing about history, and even finding a reason for it to be, finding a reason for it to be relevant. You know what I mean? And I think people want to be entertained. And I think that was always the case in every generation. I think people looked to be entertained. They didn't want to really deal with the hard issues. But I think my generation more than ever has social media and the internet and all these different things to kind of coddle them from having to think about it. And so I think we have the tool to, you know, get serious about it. I think if we use things like podcasts and the internet and different ways of communicating in serious ways, and ways that we can you know, kind of source community and communicate with each other in different ways, I think we can go far. So I think we have the tools, we just got to use them. You know?
Yeah, I think it's important, and guys, you can jump in as well, you know, if you have any questions for Anthony. But my biggest concern is future generations, because, you know, I was blessed, man. It's interesting because, you know, as you do, it's Black History Month, so the Atlanta Journal-Constitution did a spotlight on Alonzo Krim, who was the first Black, you know, superintendent. The Atlanta Public Schools. And I was blessed, honestly, to come through when Krim was superintendent. And there were just so many programs where, you know, when it was, we had MLK in Atlanta before it was a national holiday, you know, so it was never any concern about somebody taking MLK Day away. There was never any concern about Black history because I was in an all-Black school, you know, but, and I wonder if this generation understands, because maybe they came up, and I hate to say this, so integrated that they don't understand, you know, the importance of engagement. Because I heard somebody talking, and they were basically saying, hey, you know, I'm fighting, I don't want to lose, you know, Black history. And another guy said, hey, it's not about losing, it's about you participating and you celebrating. You know, they can't take it away from you if you own it. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
You know,
absolutely.
And I say that to people. Look, they may not, how do you say it, bring it to the mainstream, but that doesn't mean you can't own it. So
Right.
kind of speak to that, man. Do you think people are owning it?
No, I don't. I don't think they're owning it. I think that there's a lot of shame and, people perceive a lot of shame in learning about our history, but I think there's so many examples like the one you just brought up with Krim being the first superintendent, right? You have you have many different people who have created and done all kind of different things, and I think if we tell those stories and we get back to those stories where it's kind of like you're shamed as if you don't know those stories, if you don't know these great acts that we've done, I think we'll change the narrative. And so, yeah, I think it's very important to focus our energy on really pushing who's doing what in our community and who has done what, so people can see those examples and push forward through those. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So you did the book, and how many pages is the book, by the way? I'm curious.
It's about 340 pages. Yeah, so it's pretty extensive.
And but one of the things I like about the book, and I haven't seen it, but I was just kind of looking over some of the reviews, and you guys send me a copy, by the way, man.
Oh yeah, absolutely, I will. Absolutely.
One of the things I liked about it is you have letters, or it's a narrative, but it also includes the slave, I guess, information, narratives, stories. Right. I don't know if they're leaflets. I haven't seen the inside of the book, any photos. Kind of explain what's in it.
Well, so what I do is it's almost like a history book of sorts, right? It's almost like it's not necessarily a memoir, but it's told as an academic piece where I have various different letters and different things of I meant to say letters, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, letters, genealogy reports, things of that nature. So, are you familiar with Jordan Anderson?
No. Talk to me about
Jordan Anderson was a slave who, during the Reconstruction era, after the Civil War, his old master, wrote to him and asked him to come back and work on the farm, and said that he would pay him. And his response to him was a letter that he wrote requesting 35 years of back wages. Okay, you familiar with that? Yeah. So he requested 35 years of back wages before he would even entertain that idea that he would come back and work for him. So just, really getting in that space of what people were doing back then, the kind of ways that they were resisting, the kind of ways that they were, and the letter was written with a certain level of sarcasm. And before that, we hadn't really seen somebody who was enslaved formally show that level of wit and that level of sarcasm. So it really gave an an insight to what was going on that time and what people were thinking. And so that's just one example of, a letter in there that I had. And then also, there was a young woman whose master was taking advantage of her, and she ended up killing him. And she's considered to be the first Black woman on trial for first-degree murder. And so different things, these stories, these different parables, I think they really bring home the context and the content of the book.
Okay. Vi, you had a question?
No, I had a question. I like what he's doing because we need to know our history. Because for some reason they think we should be grateful that we're here. No, I'm grateful that I'm here, but I want you to acknowledge that we played a role in America being what they are. Acknowledge that. Y'all don't even want to acknowledge. Y'all want to think, I think they want us to think that white people made America what it is. No, y'all did not. We probably played more of a role in America being what they are than they actually did. Anything good or great that happened in America, we probably did it. So I'm going to acknowledge that. And they don't want to acknowledge, and they don't want us to know the power that we have, that we played a major role in anything great or accomplished that happened in America. We played a major role in it, like the war, the mail, man getting on the moon. A Black woman solved the equation to get him on the moon. So they don't want to tell you, they just want to say, man, land on the moon. But why did he land? How did he land on the moon? How do we win the war? How do we win World War II? They don't want us to know that. The pilots. They don't want us to know a role. So I'm grateful we got people.
Tuskegee Airmen.
Right. They don't want us to know that we played a major role. They just want to tell you about the great. No, there's just as many, if not more, great Black America than white America. So my thing is, what's the harm in knowing that? So now I'm all for them books. Because if we don't teach our history, we're not going to learn it. They want us not to know it, and they want their kids not to know it. So no, we need stuff. We need more stuff like that, and it need to get out there for we can before we can read it. Because a lot of that stuff, I'm ashamed to know, I did not know. I spent over 20 years in the Army and did not know about the black women who did the mailing. 20 years in the military, and never knew it till I saw it in the movie theater. So yeah, I'm gonna go to you,
Talib. Yeah, well, really, I just find it extremely fascinating that the book starts at about 1526, and just the fact that you said that there were Spanish colonies here in the Americas before. Yeah. Right. I'm like, well, how is that possible when the Moors were in Spain until like 1490? You know what I mean? Right. Yeah, so was it necessarily a Spanish colony or was it like a Moorish colony?
It was a Spanish. So the Spanish and the French when they were doing the European conquest, right? So 1492 is around the time that the Moors left Spain. Right. So when they left Spain, that's when the Europeans started trying to divide up different parts of the world and go there. And so, as you know, with the Louisiana Purchase and all of that, the French were here as well, and they tried to occupy. So, of course, there were black Moors all over the world, right? Traveling and doing all kind of things. But in terms of the Europeans who kind of established what we know as colonial history here in America, I started with the Spanish and the French before the British because they were here, about 100, 150 years prior. So that's kind of why,
So let me ask you this. Did you also take into account because unfortunately I haven't read the book yet, but I can't wait to. I've already written the title down, so it's going to be on my list. But the fact that America's foundation comes from the native populations here with the the Confederacy? Not Confederacy.
The Articles of Confederation.
The Articles of Confederation. Thank you.
Right.
Thank you.
Right. Oh, yeah, absolutely. I talk about Native history. I talk about the intersections of Africans and Natives and how that shaped a lot of Black American culture, right? And just Black Americans in general. So, oh, yeah, absolutely. I got the indigenous populations in there. And then also the ones who helped us revolt, right? Because a lot of the rebellions that I talk about, they're not just Black Africans. They're also mixed in with Native populations and indigenous people as well, who were also enslaved in many ways, right, and classified as mulatto or whatever the case may be. Right. I know me personally, my history, I know my family, a lot of them come from the Chickasaw and the Choctaw tribes, from Mississippi and Tennessee. So, yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. So I have to ask you, man, when you talk about resistance, how much time do you spend on Nat Turner and how many other revolts were in line with what Nat Turner?
There were a lot.
Wow, there were a lot of them. Yeah, there were a lot of them, and that's what I want people to realize. Nat Turner is.
I think people only go to Nat Turner.
Yeah. And so I call it by the hand or by the pen. And so the first part is literally by the hand, which documents every major slave revolt in North America. And as it relates to Nat Turner, he was very notorious because he went on the run for about 2 weeks, where white people went hysterical. They had no idea where he was. They thought he was going to hit the next town. And so it became this hysteria in Virginia where people kind of just lost their mind. And so his tale kind of lived on. But also a weird thing people don't know about him is people thought he had magical powers back then, right? There were a lot of people who had superstitious beliefs and things like that. And so a lot of people actually ate him after they had hung him and did what they were going to do. A lot of people actually did that. They gave out body parts as souvenirs. It was very pagan behavior, right? It was a different kind of thinking. And so, and I really want people to understand that. That's the kind of oppression and things that we were resisting against, right? And so with him, there's the Stonewall Rebellion, right? There's the Louisiana, big Louisiana Rebellion, Gabriel Prosser's Rebellion. There was about 3 in New York, 3 different slave rebellions that happened in New York that really don't get documented as much. Bunch of different conspiracies. And so I probably document over 30 or 40 different slave revolts that happened in America. Yeah.
And that's funny to me because it before maybe about 15, 20 years ago, you always think of, the slaves were, docile. They were made docile. They were very, scary. You know what I mean? Like, no, these people fought constantly. This was not people just, laying over and taking it. You know what I mean?
Right.
So
And that's why education was so repressed. They didn't want people reading. They, they they went above and beyond to try to secure that. And, you know, people were burning stuff down, attacking folks in their sleep. And then you had abolitionists who were free, who were writing like David Walker. You know, I do this in the second part where I talk about David Walker and Henry Highland. They were telling slaves, pick up your guns, do what you got to do. You know what I mean? They had a different mindset. And, you know, to hear guys standing up in front of assemblies of white people saying these type of things in 1805, 1810, you know what I mean? It's like, wow, this is different. And so, yeah, that's a part of it.
If you were talking to a parent came to you and said, hey, how can we use this for my kids? How can we, you know, how can we invest? If we invest in the book, how can we use it best? What would you tell them? Is it more reference? Go ahead.
I think that is very important. I think that knowing our history and knowing it from a level of pride and from a perspective of we weren't always the victim, I think that gives us a level of dignity walking through this world. You know what I mean? And as we learn things, as kids, you know, continue their education, I think they go in with a certain level of pride. And I think that's the value in Atlanta, right? Like you know, everything is black educated, right? The teachers are black. The city is a black city, and so a lot of people come out with a certain level of confidence that you may not get in other parts of the world. You know what I mean, or other parts of the United States. And so I definitely would say it creates a certain level of pride. I think with white Americans, they're going to tell you the history of the Revolutionary War. They're going to tell you how bravely they fought against Britain, right? They're going to let you know these things, and I think that's important for us to add to our history as well. And let people know where, you know, not only where we were oppressed, but where we succeeded in the face of oppression. And I think this book does that.
Good stuff. You know what? When you look at, we talked about by the hand. If you look at by the pen, who do you think were the top? Let's say the leading folks who advocated by the pen.
One of my favorite is Martin Robeson Delaney. He was a medical doctor, and he really didn't have to do the literature and the speaking that he did, but he escaped slavery very young. And so consequently, he was able to read and write. He was able to do different things. And so he published a lot of different publications, along with, you know, Frederick Douglass and Henry Highland Garnett, a lot of people who were out during this time. But he had a radical nature to him where he was very much so pushing for self-reliance. He didn't want any sort of integration. He didn't want any help from them. He said, you know, if they leave us alone, we'll do great things. And to to a large degree, that was true, right? Black Americans were doing all kind of things, building our cities up, doing all kind of, but they were burning them down, right? They were constantly attacking them. And I think that's something that gets left out of American history, right? Like, don't just say black folks weren't able to do certain things. We did a lot of things, but a lot was attacked, right? You look at Lake Lanier, right? There was a whole town in Lake, you know what I mean?
Lake Lanier.
These things, exactly. Lake Lanier,
I just want to clarify, because when we talk about it's haunted,
right?
Listen to the man.
Right.
There's a reason why. Yeah, good.
Absolutely. Yeah, and then, you know, even in New York, Centennial Park, you know, and not Centennial Park. I'm sorry, Central Park, right? Central Park. I'm thinking of Atlanta. Yeah, Central Park. So that there was a black community there as well. You know what I mean? That was, you know, completely demolished and covered up. So, you know, telling these stories, man, I think it really just pushes education forward and it inspires people in a different kind of way.
Good stuff, man. Anthony, man, good stuff. I'm telling you, bro. And I really and truly, I take my hat off to you, because a lot of brothers just want to do urban fiction. Right.
Absolutely.
I'm glad you're passionate about it, because timing wise, we need it, and you hear so much about, I think, accomplishments and inventions more so than what you're talking about in this book. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
When you talk the first black man, or he invented this, or you go to sports, but you don't really talk about the things that you talk about in this book. Resilience, rebellion, and advocating for freedom. So I applaud you for going this route. How can people connect with you and get a copy?
Okay, so I'm on ARSJ Media, at ARSJ Media on Instagram. Also, my website is arsjmedia.com, where you can purchase a copy of the book. I'm also on Amazon as well. The book is discounted on my my website. But arsjmedia.com. Yeah, that's where you can connect with.
Yeah, it's a little hefty on the Amazon.
Yeah.
Hefty. But,
So
I think
what did they do? Price it so that it wouldn't sell?
No, not what. Well, yeah, but
it's a paperback, right?
Yeah. It's an academic book, though. You know how it goes. So they have some pricing schedules. Yeah.
Are you seeking to get the book in schools? Right?
Yes. Yep. I am. So I'm worked for a few different departments to get it into a couple of different schools. So that's actually my goal. I really want to get it into AP courses, African American Studies courses, and first year college courses as well. So
are you seeing any pushback with a lot of the initiatives that are coming down federally right now? Are you seeing any pushback because of, I was reading last week about the books that were being taken off the base. I think one of the bases may have been Fort Bragg. They were pulling books from the bases. Do you get any pushback?
Not as of yet. I imagine that it will happen soon. But my main goal is trying to get the youth inspired so that they want to do it absent of whether it's allowed in schools. Right? We're seeing that in Florida. Kids are doing weekend classes. They're doing a bunch of different things, and so they need the texts that are a little bit more modern for them to grasp and look at. So I think even if they do fight against it, I think that's the power of community and building, those support groups. We're going to push back and get it out there, So, yeah.
Good stuff, man. Sweet. Hey, y'all, give it up for Anthony R. Stewart, man, Jr.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank y'all. Thank you.
Right.
Thank
Attorney.
You. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Man, thank you so much. And you going to hang around with us for a minute?
Yeah, I would love to. I would love to. Yeah, absolutely.
Stick around, get some of this commentary.
Right. Let's do it. I would love to.
He's ready.
Yeah. Come on, I've had 3 weeks of build-up here.
It's tea time, y'all. Sipping the tea with Tanya B.
Oh, yeah, man. Gotta say, man, A$AP Rocky got away. This dude, I mean, you got to have balls. And you're an attorney to not take the plea. And I got to give it up to him, man. He was found not guilty
quickly
this week on 2 counts of felony assault. So I questioned whether or not he should have taken that plea of 6 months versus jumping out there. And, now he's off scot-free. He had faith in the fact that he would be found not guilty. So kudos to A$AP Rocky. Jay-Z says he's lost $20 million because of the recent allegations that linked him to Puffy. Definitely not happy about it. I wouldn't be surprised if something else comes up. I might get your thoughts on that, attorney. You're shaking your head, but I'm gonna leave it at that. You may not want to
be glad he got
jump in on it.
Be glad he got that's all. That? Be glad that's all he lost with $20 million.
Yeah, he said he lost $20 million.
Be thankful instead of complaining. He
was not happy about the attack, in terms of how it went down around the time of Mufasa, which is, Blue Ivy was involved in. He even brought that up as well. So it was interesting, very interesting.
Whatever.
Also, congrats to Jennifer Hudson, man. Her and the Happy Place have been renewed for season 4. Also, congrats to the Tam Fam. Tamron Hall show has been renewed for season 7. And my current favorite show, Paradise with Sterling K. Brown, is I love the show. If y'all hadn't checked it out, you're missing. But it has been renewed. I'm kind of upset because I thought they would just end the show one season and we get it all out of the way. Now they're going to drag it out longer. So season 2 is coming. Beyond the Gates, the new CBS soap, the first black soap with a lead cast. I think it's the first, according to Clifton Davis. But as we tape, it starts on Monday, February 24th at 2 p.m. How your mama call them? The stories? The stories are coming on.
The stories.
So it features many familiar faces, including veteran entertainer Clifton Davis. And it is the first black-led soap in history.
Is it going to be it's going to be a daytime soap?
Yeah, it's a daytime soap. It's an hour long.
It's definitely
comes on at 2 p.m.
It is definitely the first.
Wow.
It is definitely the first day.
Yeah. 1 hour.
What?
So,
you mean Angie, and Jesse and Angie didn't qualify for the?
They had
y'all into your stories.
They had other white characters in there with them.
Yeah, look, my grandmother would force us out of the house between 12:30 and 4:00. Until her stories were off growing
until
up.
the stories went on.
So yeah, I know about all of them. Well, at least Channel 2, ABC. I knew all the ABC stuff.
You know it. And rest in power, man, to Chicago. This is before your time, Anthony, man. But you might have to go research this and do a book on this guy, Jerry Butler, man. The song "Ain't Understanding Mellow" was my jam. I was a goober. I was like, but I love that song. Jerry Butler, The Impressions, back with Curtis Mayfield, dead at 85. If you know the disco song "Rocky Baby," Gwen McCrae, dead at 81. And you'll know this one, Anthony. Valletta Wallace, mother of Christopher Notorious B.I.G., she passed away at 72.
Oh.
Yeah, so that just happened as we taped last night. So
wow.
Yeah. Yep. SNL 50 ratings hit 14.8 million. They said based on what's an average audience for an SNL episode, it was like 200% more. So I guess you would consider that a success. NBA ratings, y'all, second lowest in history, 4.7 million. But the NBA is going to get their money because I think contractually they're going to get their money.
They're going to get their
And one of my favorite people is here. I hope he's here. Nabate, you in the building, man?
Yes, sir. I'm here. How
Nabate Owls, y'all give it up for him, man. Just give it up in the house because I got it. Man, Nabate, it's been a minute. He is a phenom on sports, Grammy winner, jazz great, a friend of the podcast. And good to have you on again, Nabate. It's been a minute, man.
It's a pleasure to be on. Thank you for having me once again. It's been a long time. Yeah. So, yes, sir.
And we can't allow this gap to happen again. We got to get you back on sooner, man. So.
Oh, definitely, absolutely. Playoffs are coming. So.
Yes. So Nabate, man, I have to ask you, man, and the fellas, you can chime in. Does it feel like the NBA has a problem within? And the reason I say that is I don't see the NFL players trashing their product the way the NBA players and commentators trash the NBA. I don't think they would last in the NFL if they trashed the NBA. So what are your thoughts, man? Do you think there's a problem within?
I think so, but from the standpoint of I think what's going on is that there's a lot of accessibility to broadcast shows. A lot of the players want, like the new media, which comes from NBA players and everything, because they want to have a narrative for themselves. And I think that's what's going on. And Adam Silver rightfully so, has given them the outlet to be able to express themselves. Because remember, this all started from the Black Lives Matter movement. George Floyd, remember how Milwaukee responded to that?
Yeah.
The Milwaukee Bucks responded. I'm sorry, not for George Floyd, but the shooting of the young man, I forgot his name, but the shooting of him that happened in Racine, Wisconsin.
Okay, yeah, I remember.
The Milwaukee Bucks, as a result, decided to not play the games. And I think the NBA opens up and gives an opportunity for players to be expressive and everything like that. But with that being said, though, I think whatever complaints and issues they have for the league, they need to think about the league has put them out there and given them exposure for them to express themselves. I think if they have a problem with the league itself, which the league has given them the players opportunity to be able to express themselves on social issues or what's going on outside, to respond to what's happening politically, et cetera, et cetera. But if they have an issue with the league, they need to keep it within, because people are getting disenchanted with the league, and it's like you got to find a way to try to discuss in closed doors what's happening. It's not like the league is treating the players bad. You see what I'm saying? The league is actually giving them the platform and like I said, rightfully so. It's not shut up and dribble. It's for them to speak up, but at the same time, though, do it within house, and stuff like that, like teams do. Like, coaches don't want players to be talking about what they do as a coach, or what GMs are doing, or moves that they're making. So do the same thing when it comes to the league itself. That's my opinion.
Well, I'm going to say this, man, because I love the game and I played the game. Okay. And I know you love the game. I mean,
I've played it a lot when I was younger.
Yes. Yeah. We love the game. Most of the guys on the podcast, definitely embrace the game. But when you love the game and you see what's happening now, it's a call. I pause. There's some concern. In terms of not necessarily from a standpoint, because the players are getting paid. I mean, they getting paid.
That's what I'm saying.
Ever.
Like these supermax contracts increase more and more. You have to do is just make an all NBA team, and you're set. So. No, yeah, right.
But no. But you're right. I mean, but I get concerned because they're still like, Draymond Green. When the comment he made when he said, I guess they were going around the table about the changes to the recent All-Star game in terms of how they had it structured with Charles, Kenny, and Shaq, the teams. Mm-hmm. And when they came to Draymond, he gave it a 0, and he said it sucks. And everybody else at the table kind of looked at him because, they were giving it maybe 5 out of 10, 7 out of 10.
Yeah.
For him to give it a 0. And the other thing I'm going to come to you. I'm going to come to you, Vi. My concern about Draymond is, dude, you're the most fined guy in the league. I mean, when it comes down to technicals and fines, and yet you give this guy a platform. It just amazes me that they're willing to give him a platform to trash them when he's still on the payroll. But go ahead.
And he's talking like he got a career like Steph Curry.
Yes. Because correct me if I'm wrong, Steph was involved in setting this up. I mean, Steph, a lot the ideas they went to Steph with this new setup, this new structure.
And they're trying. You know what? They need to go out. If the players don't like it, go out and bust your ass in the game, in the All-Star game.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like they did back in the 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, and even 2000s, when Cole pretty much, after that generation of KG, Cole, Duncan, you know what I'm saying? Like, after that, Nowitzki, after that generation, it seems like no one comes out to really play, anymore. And, and that's the thing, is like they're trying to make solutions. And that's what I mean. That's what I'm saying. For you to be that blatantly disrespectful, you know what I mean, towards the thing, and the league is giving you an opportunity to have a platform. But, like, say what you got to say, but be able to say it in a way that it's like, you can be able to say it respectfully and come up with a solution.
Right.
Come up with, I think this is what it should be, and that's what it is, like with Draymond. And I'm glad Oscar Robinson, the legend, blasted him out for because I think that's, what Draymond said about the game as well, being boring. And he has a point. He does have a point about 3-pointers being shot. There's no fluidity to the offense. I get it. But like I said, it's like, that's why Oscar said what he had to say, because it's not just that statement about the league. It's about his statements in general, Draymond Green. And the fact that Oscar Robinson to put his career on the line to be able to try to have players be able to get experience free agency. He was one of the major trendsetters to get in players to have that freedom. And I'm glad he went off on Draymond like that. Because I think it was an accumulation of things. I think it wasn't just that comment.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
I agree. I'm gonna go to you, Vi.
I think the difference between the NFL and the NBA, the NBA more is it's turned to a mean league. The NFL players know they're not bigger than the game itself. I think the NBA players think they're bigger than the game. Dude, the game is why you got money. And I think the NFL, because of the owners and the commissioner,
and also
they say they're gonna
how the league, and the fan base too. We you know what I'm saying? Like, come on, like it's kind of like I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but kind of like the NFL has like a backstory, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, like I said,
So,
the NFL protects the shield. Yeah. The NBA players are not protecting their shield because
and Major League
they
Baseball
get
too.
paid.
Major League Baseball too as well.
Because they get paid.
Baseball too.
Right.
Yeah.
The NBA players, they get paid well. So why don't you protect the shield? Because if those TV contracts don't get renewed, y'all don't get paid.
Yeah, and that was my point exactly. But I don't think.
And also, I'm sorry to interrupt too. And,
go ahead.
Major League Baseball too
Protects
also.
They protect the shield. They know the game. Because that what Oscar Roberts was saying. The game, not y'all. Yeah, we need y'all for the game, but y'all need the game to be entertaining. Y'all need the game to be. So don't downgrade the game. Don't act like they said on First Take. It's like this because it's what y'all did. Like LeBron basically said when he came out the way he came out, I am bigger than the game.
Yeah, I'm gonna stop you there, Vi. I want to go back to Nabate and ask him. Now that we've kind of gone across all the sports, is there any other sport that does this?
No, the sport. And I want to just interject on baseball. Let me tell you about baseball. They have a right to complain about why aren't the players better marketed. And guess what? Players don't wear helmets. They don't wear the helmets in baseball. And there's a lot of exceptional young talent in Major League Baseball right now. Why aren't they getting exposure? They could complain, but they don't. You see what I'm saying? Like, if they do, but if they did say something in a constructive way, I wouldn't mind that. You see what I mean?
Correct. In a constructive way.
They need to tell Manfred. They need to tell Rob Manfred. And I bet you they're doing that like behind closed doors. You know what I mean? Things like that. But yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to stop your question, Thomas. Yeah,
no, that's it. I mean,
I
the bottom line is I don't know of any other sport that does it. Like
no other sport does it.
I mean, any other business model where people are making this amount of money. If anything, maybe you could have the WNBA women could complain,
and that's
because they're not making this kind of money. But when you're looking at the kind of money and contracts that these guys are getting, for them to trash the league the way they trashed the league this previous week, I was shocked. And I'm all about free expression. Damn, I got a podcast. Nabate, you have a podcast, but we ain't making that NBA money.
But I hate to say it's because of the money, not the money.
And I ain't happy as a fan, honestly.
Do you think it's the money though? Do you really think it's the money?
Let me say, and I want Nabate to answer this. Let Nabate answer this.
Really, here's the question I would like answered. Really, is this? When did we realize that this was happening in basketball? Was it the start of the free agency? I'm going to move around the way I want to, kind of thing, or was it, back with the Bird Magic Wars? I mean, when did this disrespect actually start?
Let me go to Nabate.
Guaranteed contracts.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah,
go ahead.
I think it started with, to a certain extent, Adam Silver giving the players a lot of leeway, because David Stern did not do that.
He did not do it.
And David Stern was able to still make sure that the players were exposed and profiting. Now, I'm not disrespecting Adam Silver. I think he's an excellent commissioner, but I think at the same time, a lot of these players are taking advantage
too much power
of what Adam Silver has tried to give them that leeway. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? And it's not, and it's like, to a certain extent now, does Adam Silver have to start, making adjustments? You see what I'm saying on how the league is governed and stuff like that, how he is holding the players accountable to be able to give it their all, and everything like that. It's really deep. It's really deep.
It's deep, very deep.
So.
Yeah, so let me ask you, Nabate, moving on, man. How do you see this season ending? You've made picks before on the podcast, and you've been spot on. Who's the team to beat for the rest of the season?
Yeah, I think I have to say there's two teams that I think are, there's Oklahoma City and Denver. Those are the two.
Oh, you left
teams.
the Beantown brother out? You got Anthony on the podcast from Beantown, man.
I'm talking about in the West.
Okay, I'm messing with you, man.
I'm just starting with the West. Oh yeah, for sure. I think those are the teams right now But I got to give it to
Okay.
Oklahoma City because they, number one, they were the 1 seed last year.
Yeah.
Number two, they were able to gain a lot of playoff experience and make a lot of adjustments from the standpoint of what they learned against the Dallas Mavericks in the Western Conference semis last year. You know, the Mavericks are not that team. I think the Mavericks are going to be good, but Anthony Davis, we don't know what's up with him. You know what I mean? Like, supposedly, if he has surgery, that's the end of his season.
Yeah.
So he may need surgery. We don't know what's going to happen with Anthony Davis. I think the Mavericks, and they have injuries also up front with Lively and everything. But I think the Mavericks, 25-26, they will be dangerous. But for now, Oklahoma City, this is their opportunity. There is no other team that has the depth. There's no other team that defends. There's no other team that has a bona fide scorer and the most diverse scorer in the NBA is Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. And they got a great second option, Jalen Williams. And when they get Chet Holmgren and Isaiah Hartenstein really healthy as well, this team is without a doubt, they will come out of the West. They should. This is their opportunity. There's no one else. Denver, like I said, if Denver is the 4 seed, though, Oklahoma City, that's basically they beat Denver, they're in. Okay. You know what I mean? Like, there's no one else. In the Eastern Conference, Boston, I mean, they're just playing even better than last year. And what they're doing is like, you know, their type of style of having interchangeable starting lineup is now complete. You see what I'm saying? Like, Brad Stevens foresaw this 5-6 years ago when he first had Tatum and when he first had Jaylen Brown. He foresaw that type of interchangeable type of lineup, you know, where you could have guys like pretty much on the court from 6'5" to 6'10".
And they shoot 33s a game. How many threes? Good Lord.
Yeah, absolutely. But guess what? But they have great ball movement and they're disciplined.
Yeah,
that's the difference. Like, it's not like these other teams that just shoot threes and then they don't have any type of ball movement, any type of chemistry, any type of system. That's what I like about the Celtics team. So Celtics, and of course the defending champs. Cleveland is looking so.
Can I say this about last night? Because as we taped, they played the Knicks last night, and it was it was a massacre.
Yeah, and I mean, but what was so great about Cleveland is that the difference getting a DeAndre Hunter makes their lineup complete.
Oh my God.
That was a major pickup. Underrated. Not many people are noticing that pickup of DeAndre Hunter. That was a hell of a pickup. Now they got the best starting 5 in basketball. I think they have a better starting 5 than the Celtics. Like,
as much,
overall,
I'm in Atlanta, man. So as you say, DeAndre Hunter, my heart is heavy because let me say this, because he couldn't stay off the injured reserve list. He could. I mean, well, he couldn't stay well. And when he
did,
with
OG Anunoby. Same with OG. He's their OG. The trade that the Knicks made to get OG Anunoby, which was major impact. It's the similar type of trade for Cleveland.
But the crazy thing about this, Nabate, and I want you to continue, about DeAndre Hunter is they figured out this year he was better coming off the bench, and he was killing it. As much as I hated to see him go, and I do want to ask you about the Hawks when you wrap, but go ahead. Who else? You got the Celtics, and you know, you're looking at Cleveland as your 2?
Yeah, that's it.
Okay.
I mean, and let me tell you something. I'm a Knicks fan. I'm based in New York.
Yeah.
I just don't know. I think the minutes are starting to take their toll.
Yeah.
I'm starting to see it. And this is the problem I've had with Tom Thibodeau. Thibodeau is he deals with what's guaranteed.
Yeah.
And he's done this throughout his career.
No depth, not a lot of depth on the team is what you're saying. Yeah.
Right. And what makes Boston great is that Boston has contended for all these years. They've been contenders since 2016-17, you know, with Brad Stevens. But what I like about Boston, especially with Ime Udoka first and with Joe Mazzulla, they developed their young players on the bench. Peyton Pritchard is about to be the 6th man of the year.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He was a rookie. They developed him. They got him to get on the court and learn, and also be able to maximize his strengths. Also, too, you have Hauser as well. who was Hauser before he got to the league? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know
also,
exactly.
too,
Yeah.
you know, all of these young players that they've been able to and then Luke Cornett, former Knick, Luke Cornett was able to make contributions. So that's what I mean. It's like they know how to use their young talent and be able to maximize their strengths. Thibodeau's not doing that. And we have like good young talent and everything. But not we, I'm sorry, I shouldn't say the Knicks have good. I'm speaking from fan perspective.
You sounding like Stephen A. Smith now.
Yeah, but I just think, right now it's a situation where I just don't know. They're one player away. They need one bench player away, but you never know. When it comes to 7-game series, though, that's a different thing.
All right, enough about the Knicks, man. Enough about the Knicks now. 1 minute. 1 minute. I need you to give me an assessment. Okay, 1 minute. The second oldest team in the league without a championship, the Atlanta Hawks.
Yes. Yeah, the Hawks. I got to tell you, the Hawks are going to be great. I'm telling you, man, give them 2 years because Quinn Snyder.
Oh my God, how much longer we gotta wait?
No. Y'all got come on, brother. Y'all traded Bogdanovich. Y'all traded Bogdanovich.
Oh, but you know, Bogdanovich wasn't doing anything anyway. But go ahead.
No. Bogdanovich was a major key off the bench for y'all. You know what I'm saying?
He was. Cold. Hey, let me say this. He was cold, man. He hasn't been this year, previous year.
Well,
go ahead.
But I'm saying that y'all got rid of John Collins. A lot of those guys that took y'all to the Eastern Conference Finals, you know.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying, Trae Young is not the guy. I'm telling you, he's not.
Oh.
But at the same time, what I like what Quinn Snyder is doing is putting athletic wings around Trae Young. You got Jalen Johnson, who unfortunately is out for the season, but he'll be right next year. You know, you have a lot of athletes, and Quinn Snyder is one of the master developers of talent in this league. So I really think what he's doing is good. They just got to build more. But I think in a couple of years they'll be really solid. You know,
oh my God,
really solid. So, but that's what it is. Like, you know, you got to. That's what they brought. They brought him in for long term.
But it's been a couple of years. It's been a couple of years for about 10 years.
Dude, I've been saying it since '86 when I moved here.
But y'all got rid of those guys.
But you know,
got rid of those guys that took y'all to the Eastern Conference. Y'all traded them. So
constantly, and they constantly get traded. Anytime it looks like we got a good little squad, you know what I mean?
Get rid of.
Yeah.
Again, I say the second oldest team in the league without a championship. That's all I got to say. And I have a brother from Boston on the podcast today. I hate to say that. Okay, man.
He ain't feeling all pain.
But I think the finals will be OKC Boston, and I see Boston winning because of experience, but it'll be in 7 games.
All right.
It'll be a very, very. I think OKC they're one more year away from Boston is just too experienced, you know, and they have the depth and they have more scorers than OKC does.
All right, man. All right, Nabate. Hey, Nabate, before you close, man, real quick, talk to people about. I know you have a current project, even though it's been out since 2023, right? But give us an update on your music, man. What are you doing?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Yeah, and Motion has been out for 2 years now, so it's been a great run. I've been able to tour around the country to play. But yeah, I have a gig at 52 Sumner, which is over in Springfield, Massachusetts, with a band on March 15th. So anyone in the Western Mass or even Massachusetts area, you know, Springfield, the Berkshires. I'm playing there at 52 Sumner on March 15th. I'm also playing in Philadelphia at the Clef Club of Jazz of Philadelphia Clef Club of Jazz, which is in Philadelphia. I'm there on April 5th with my band, and we're going to have a special guest, my mentor, the great Jimmy Owens, who's an NEA jazz master, my musical father, so he'll be joining me. And then I'm coming out with a podcast within the next couple of weeks or so.
Is it another episode of the current podcast or?
No! It's going to be a new one with the great Tim Hardaway.
Oh wow!
Yes. So I'll be hosting his podcast with him, and Tim Hardaway is a good brother. I was able to be in San Francisco for All-Star Weekend to support, because him and Run TMC was being honored throughout the weekend. Him, Chris Mullen, and Mitch Richmond, all three of them are Hall of Famers. But yeah, so I'm starting my podcast with Tim Hardaway. Please keep an eye on Win Daily. It's through Win Daily Sports.
Excellent,
so definitely we're gonna be letting people know when it'll be premiering, and it'll be great. So it'll be honored to work with Tim, and I consider him a friend. That's the homie right there. So,
excellent. Y'all give it up, man. This brother needs to be on ESPN. I have a few people. I have a few names you can replace.
Oh yeah, I'm sure we have the same names in mind. So,
but Nabate, thank you so much, man.
Thank you, gentlemen.
I appreciate you jumping on and continue success and keep us up to date on the podcast. All right.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Definitely. And one question before you go.
Yeah, man.
Who's the MVP? SGA or Jokic? Because it's so close. What do you guys think? It's tough, right?
For this year?
Yeah.
Man. I don't know if the league is willing to give it to Jokic again because of the complaints. So I don't know.
Yeah, like voters fatigue.
Yeah.
Yeah, because Jokic. I'm sorry, I said Joe. I meant Jokic. My fault. That's
we call him the Joker, so yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I think SGA should get it myself
I
because
do too.
being on the best record, and also remember too, like that team without him, like Jokic has he has three other teammates that are high level. I think SGA is more of like the clear number one guy, other than and then you have Jalen Williams, but I think SGA should get it for sure, just with his consistency and everything. So, but it's so close. But Jokic has the best year of his career. That's what makes it crazy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, he's about to average a triple-double, so it's crazy.
Cool, man.
Yeah.
Appreciate you, man.
Take care.
Take care. We got to get you back on because I got some other stuff to ask you about NBA. But take care, man.
Absolutely. Take care, gentlemen.
All right, now. All right. Peace. Man, y'all give it up for Nabate. Thank you, Nabate, man. Appreciate you, bro. And so let's go ahead. We'll do this. We'll end it with this.
The Political Roundtable.
All right, y'all. I got to ask, man, and I'll go around the table. You've heard everything that's going on this week. I'll start with you because you haven't been on in a few weeks, Talib. What's bothering you the most, man, when you take a look at what's happening with the administration? What's kind of irking you the most? I'll go to you.
Well, actually, I have new hope for the Republican Party in terms of the voters, because this week there has been everything that I've been reading and looking at has been people expressing themselves on how they are displeased with how Trump is handling the Russia thing, the Russia-Ukraine war. Eric Erickson, from WSB was like, yo, Trump, that's a bad thing. You know what I mean? So it's like, I'm feeling like some of this, just blatant throwing the spaghetti on the wall and seeing what sticks that Elon and Trump have been doing in terms of how they can dismantle, systems and sidestep laws, is not going to be as easy as they thought it was going to be. Yeah. So I'm hoping, to see that a lot more people are becoming involved in the process and speaking up. Okay. But everything that Chainsaw is doing is just totally annoying me. You know what I mean? Like, honestly, Elon's got to go. If I wasn't convinced that he needed to go with just Tesla and Twitter, this whole doggy thing that he's doing is just, it's ridiculous. Yeah. I don't know what other words to use to say it, but it's just mind-boggling. The fact that these people are really believing that they can get away with all of this shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm with you. Anthony R. Stewart, I'll go to you, and then I'll go to you, Vi.
Yes, to kind of piggyback off what Brother Shabazz was saying, mainly the uncertainty of everything, what they got planned next, because it's just a circus act, you know what I mean? And so really just trying to see what they have next, what's going to go through, what's not going to go through, who's going to step up, who's going to represent, the leadership for our community and push it forward. So That's really what's been on my mind. You know what I mean? And so, yeah.
Okay, go to you, Vaughn.
Well, all these folks, they think he's really saving the government money, but I don't think they're looking at the big picture. I'm going, if you can be happy the way he's doing things, he displacing thousands of people who depend on these jobs to make a living. And for people to think it's okay, because you got to put yourself in that situation. That could have been you in a government job, and you come in the next day and realize you don't have a job. Yeah. That's what I'm thinking. How can you think that's okay? That can't be okay. That cannot be okay for you to fire thousands of people and think that's okay. That just cannot be okay.
Yeah. Well, I'll wrap it, man, and I'll just say the biggest problem I have with this is the credibility of it. I think, I don't know if somebody's got everybody mute yourself for a minute. I think there's some significant issues, man, when it comes down to credibility. I'm just shocked that this guy has so many conflicts of interest by owning and having opportunities within government that he is actually seeking contracts and he's cutting. Who does that? I mean, no business would bring in somebody who has an interest in getting contracts and allow them to cut like this. I mean, that's the first thing. The second thing, okay, of course, you're dealing with a felon, and the lies that are coming out of the White House, you can't trust whether or not the numbers they give you on the cuts are real or not, because there's nothing to substantiate the numbers they're giving you. So that's the biggest concern. I'm not shocked by what the Republicans are doing at all. I'm not surprised by it. What bothers me, I guess the thing is, what bothers me the most are the people who are doing it right now. These are the least responsible people making the cuts because they're doing it for their own interest. The other thing, I mean, I got a problem with the Democrats. I mean, when it comes down to, people like Hakeem Jeffries,
he's got to go
on a book tour.
Yeah, he's got to go.
You're in the midst of all this. It's kind of like, I would be out there every single day touting what we're doing versus what they've done. When you've got this kind of, you've got these people, the number of people, because you look at the polling, they're already underwater. You're seeing Trump upside down, under 50%, just about everywhere, just disapproval. I would be out there, man. There's blood in the water. Don't be on a book tour,
right?
Grifting. Do what you need to take advantage of that. Go ahead, Talib. One more thing.
That Hakeem Jeffries. I think that what really annoyed me about him and a few of the other Democrats that I've seen over the last 2 weeks is this whole, well, what do you want me to do kind of attitude.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like, aren't you not an elected official?
No.
Aren't you supposed to be presenting legislation, ideas, think tank? I mean, there has to be, what do you mean? What do you want me to do?
Yeah. If not for a few, and I've reposted a lot of their comments, just examples would be Jasmine Crockett. You mentioned her via Texas, and also AOC, of course, in New York. But, it's hard to, I mean, they just kind of, unfortunately, live up to the the shit that we expect from politicians, unfortunately. I hate to say that. Yeah. All right, y'all, we'll go ahead and wrap it up. I love your thoughts. You can scan the QR code or the logo. All of our social media links are there. You can go there, man, find out. If you want to give us any feedback, you can leave feedback there. There's a place where you can leave voice message. I'll play back the best. Don't forget, support the podcast. Give 25 for 2025, just one time. And within the QR code, the link is there. Again, I remind you guys, we are a Spotify podcast, so you can go to Spotify, search This Is the G Podcast, and make sure you subscribe to us, and you can check us out video-wise or audio, whatever works best for you. And congrats to our friend, man, show contributor Harold Michael Harvey. His book, Watch Night, has won the bronze medal for 2025 Illumination Book Award. So, congrats to our good friend and contributor Harold Michael Harvey, Cascade Publishing. Good job, bro. Sir, I'm gonna say bro because he's my elder. So, but he is a good model and a great contributor to the show. And we appreciate y'all. Definitely give us your feedback. Anthony R. Stewart, thank you, sir. Thank you for hanging over with us, man. Episode 257's in the can, y'all. Gotta say peace and power to the people. Y'all have a great day.
Peace out,
Thank you. Have a great week.
You've been listening to This is the G Podcast. And This is the G Podcast is a production of the Castropolis Podcast Network. Thanks for listening.